So I did a poll a few days ago asking your opinion on the Epstein files cover-up. Over 50% of you are beyond pissed. So let's rewind and see how we got here. In the early 1990s, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein moved in the same Palm Beach, Manhattan circles, often spotted together at parties and even at Trump's Mar-a-Lago club. But by the early 2000s, the relationship soured. Around 2007, after Epstein sexually assaulted an underage girl, Trump barred him from his club. When Epstein's crimes came fully to light, attorneys noted that Trump was one of the only people in that social set who voluntarily cooperated with investigators.
The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
And that was in 2009?
That was in 2009. So,
do you know if there's any truth to James Patterson's claims that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago?
I've definitely heard that.
Let's fast forward to 2019. Trump is now the president. Epstein is federally indicted on new charges, and just weeks later, Epstein is found dead in his jail cell. And then in 2020, another key figure was taken down. Epstein's longtime associate, Jlane Maxwell, was arrested and charged with sex trafficking. Trump's response raised eyebrows. Trump said of Maxwell,
I just wish her well, frankly.
And then, during an interview with Axios, Trump was asked about what he said.
Mr. President, the other day a reporter asked you about Jlane Maxwell. You said, quote, I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, but I wish her well, whatever it is. Mr. President, Jlane Maxwell has been arrested on allegations of child sex trafficking. Why would you wish such a person well?
First of all, I don't know that, but I do know that
she has. She's been arrested for that.
Her
you know that.
friend or boyfriend,
Epstein,
was either killed or committed suicide in jail. She's now in jail. Yeah, I wish her well. I'd wish you well. I'd wish a lot of people well. Good luck. Let them prove somebody was guilty.
During the 2024 race, the Epstein question kept surfacing at rallies and during interviews. On June 3rd, 2024, Fox and Friends asked him directly,
if you were president, would you declassify, you can answer yes or no to these, would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know it. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there, because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
Only
Yeah, I would.
Made it into most social media clips. The longer caveat,
I think that less so,
got far less play, but it showed he hadn't given an unconditional pledge. 3 months later, on the Lex Friedman podcast, Trump expressed the same willingness, yet tempered it with caution.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. But yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
That's great to hear.
Supporters treated these answers as a firm promise that President Trump 2.0 would finally expose the truth about Epstein, even though each quote contained a built-in escape hatch. Trump was once again president in January 2025, and the pressure to act on Epstein's files mounted quickly. Trump appointed Pam Bondi, the former Florida Attorney General and a close ally, as the new U.S. Attorney General. Almost immediately, Bondi faced questions about Epstein. On February 21st, 2025, Bondi appeared on Fox News and made a striking announcement.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
Bondi's on-air confirmation that she possessed an Epstein client list and that Trump had specifically ordered her to handle it caused a stir. It suggested that the long-hoped-for disclosure was imminent. Notably, when asked if she had seen anything interesting in the Epstein papers yet, Bondi Bondi replied,
"Not yet."
Just days later, Bondi hinted that action was coming soon. On February 26, 2025, she told Fox News viewers to expect some Epstein-related documents to be released that Thursday.
I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
What kind? Are we going to see who was on the flights? Are we going to see any evidence from what he recorded? Because he had all of his homes wired with recording devices.
Yeah, what you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information, but it's pretty sick what that man did.
That next day, February 27th, 2025, the White House staged an event that in hindsight appears to have been more showmanship than substance. A group of pro-Trump social media influencers were invited to the White House for a special photo op. They emerged holding large white binders labeled the Epstein Files Phase 1. These right-wing influencers smiled for cameras as they brandished their binders, some of them wearing MAGA hats or holding Trump 2024 gear. Finally, on March 3rd, 2025, the administration released Epstein Files Phase 1 to the public. It was a PDF of about 341 pages of documents. But when journalists and citizens actually examined the material, it landed with a thud. The documents were mostly old court filings and evidence from prior Epstein cases, much of which had already been public or reported on. There were no new bombshell names of high-profile perpetrators revealed. No secret client list appeared in this batch. In short, Phase 1 contained nothing sensational. It was essentially a repackaging of known information, presented under a flashy classified binder cover. Behind the scenes, friction inside Trump's team kept rising. Pam Bondi, Patel, and Dan Bongino had all championed full transparency on Epstein. Now, once in power, they were expected to deliver. Patel told the Senate in May 2025 that he would support the full release of the files, reassuring lawmakers that nothing would be buried.
So will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these sex trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child sex trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past and how we are going to countermand missing children and exploited children going forward.
Simmering tensions exploded into a full-on political scandal in June 2025, thanks to an unlikely catalyst, Elon Musk. The billionaire owner of X and a figure admired by many on the right, Musk had generally been friendly with Trump, but on June 1st, Musk suddenly went nuclear on Trump over the big beautiful bill. In a now infamous post on X, Musk wrote,
"That real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public."
In other words, Musk was accusing Trump of personally being implicated, suggesting that Trump's administration was covering up the Epstein files to protect Trump himself. This claim was without any presented evidence, and to be clear, Trump has not been officially accused of any wrongdoing in the Epstein case. But coming from Musk, the world's richest man and owner of a major social media platform, the allegation carried weight and went viral within hours. Elon's shocking post is widely regarded as the spark that ignited a full-blown MAGA rebellion. It pierced the veneer of unity between Trump and the online right. With the intra-party pressure at a boiling point, July 2025 proved to be an extraordinary month in this saga. The DOJ tried to put the matter to rest by releasing an official memo on the Epstein case. This brief report stated that after a thorough review, no incriminating client list was found in the Epstein files, nor any evidence that Epstein had blackmailed powerful figures. It also reaffirmed that Epstein died by suicide in 2019, attempting to dispel any theories of murder. In essence, the DOJ and FBI concluded there was nothing more to disclose, no big cover-up of VIP perpetrators, and no Epstein client list in official custody. Rather than calming the storm, this memo poured fuel on the fire. Segments of Trump's base saw it as proof that Trump's own administration was now a part of the conspiracy. Pam Bondi immediately came under intense scrutiny for her past statements. Back in February, she had clearly implied she had a client list on her desk. Now the DOJ says no such list exists. The White House had to clarify Bondi's words. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters that Bondi's reference to a list was merely about the entirety of all the paperwork in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, not a literal list of names.
According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that.
July 8th through 9th, 2025. As reporters pressed the administration on the issue, Trump's frustration showed. On July 8th, during a cabinet meeting photo op, a reporter tried to ask about Epstein. Trump snapped,
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking... We have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration.
July 10th and 11th, 2025. At this point, numerous conservative influencers and even some Republican politicians went public with their criticism of Trump's handling of the Epstein files. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene hinted that the base felt betrayed. Right-wing commentator Liz Wheeler tweeted, "It's time to fire Pam Bondi." Mike Cernovich, another prominent pro-Trump voice, wrote that nobody can even understand why the FBI issued that memo and that everyone is pissed. Rogan O'Hanley, one of the influencers at the White House in February, lamented that the memo was a shameful chapter in American history. The sense of betrayal among these allies was palpable. There were even murmurings in Trump's inner circle that some officials might resign. Dan Bongino was rumored to be furious with how Bondi handled the rollout and reportedly considered stepping down from his FBI post in protest. So far, he has not stepped down. Former Trump National Security Advisor General Michael Flynn publicly pleaded on social media, @RealDonaldTrump, please understand the Epstein affair is not going away. Steve Bannon warned that this issue was breaking the trust of the base. July 12th, 2025. Trump attempted to quell the revolt by defending his administration and doubling down on dismissing the issue. He took to his own social media platform with a lengthy post.
What's going on with my boys, and in some cases Gail's? They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is doing a fantastic job.
And scolding those in the MAGA movement who were still focusing on Epstein.
We have a perfect administration. The talk of the world, selfish people are trying to hurt it, all over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein.
July 14th through 15th, 2025. Opposition Democrats, sensing political opportunity, tried to force the issue of the Epstein files into the open. Democrats, led by Rep. Ro Khanna, offered an amendment in the House Rules Committee to force release of the Epstein files. After a tense 45-minute debate, the Republican majority on the panel defeated it by a single vote, so it never reached the House floor. The very next day, however, Speaker Johnson said this about the situation.
I mean, the White House and the White House team are privy to facts that I don't know. I mean, this isn't my lane. I haven't been involved in that. But I agree with the sentiment that we need to put it out there. And you know, Pam Bondi, I don't know, when she originally made the statement, I think she was talking about documents, as I understood it, they were on her desk. I don't know that she was specific about a list or whatever, but she needs to come forward and explain that to everybody. I like Pam. I mean, I think she's done a good job. We need the DOJ focusing on the major priorities. So let's get this thing resolved so that they can deal with violent crime and public safety and election integrity.
And added,
we should put everything out there and let the people decide.
This was a notable pivot. GOP leadership was edging toward the side of the base calling for sunlight. Other lawmakers echoed this. Senator Josh Hawley said,
"This is one of the worst human trafficking rings in American history, run by this scumbag. And I think the more we know about it, the more we get out there, the better it is."
Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana pointedly asked if there were others involved, why haven't they been prosecuted? Calling it a fair question Americans deserved answered. Representative Tim Burchett blasted Bondi's handling of the matter, saying, "Nobody knows what's going on. I'm not happy." Burchett even penned a letter formally calling on the House Oversight Committee to invite Maxwell to testify in a public hearing. In sum, by mid-July, members of Congress from both parties were agitating waiting for more Epstein disclosure, a situation Trump likely hoped to avoid. July 16, 2025. One surprising development was that Jlane Maxwell herself apparently indicated willingness to speak. From her prison cell, Maxwell, through her attorney, let it be known that she would testify to Congress if asked. This news put additional pressure on Washington. Here was Epstein's accomplice, potentially ready to talk, even as Trump's DOJ was saying, case closed. Lawmakers began debating whether to subpoena Maxwell. It was noted that under Rule 35, a federal inmate can get a sentence reduction for substantial cooperation, so Maxwell has an incentive to offer information. The Justice Department, however, was not keen on this. In fact, around the same time, DOJ lawyers were in court fighting a motion by Maxwell. Maxwell was appealing aspects of her conviction and trying to enforce what she claimed was Epstein's old non-prosecution deal from 2008 to shield her. The department clearly viewed Maxwell as having had her day in court. July 17, 2025. The scandal reached a fever pitch with a dramatic story in the Wall Street Journal. The Journal reported that it obtained an alleged letter from Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein, written years ago. According to the Journal, this note was a part of a 2003 Epstein birthday album and included a drawing of a naked woman, signed by Trump with a playful message, "Happy birthday and may every day be another wonderful secret." The implication was that Trump had a much cozier relationship with Epstein than he'd admitted. President Trump reacted with fury. In a post on Truth Social, Trump wrote,
President Trump will be suing the Wall Street Journal, News Corp, and Mr. Murdoch shortly. The press has to learn to be truthful and not rely on sources that probably don't even exist.
Vice President J.D. Vance chimed in to defend Trump, calling the story complete and utter bullshit. Meanwhile, Elon Musk, who had helped spark the whole crisis, surprisingly downplayed the Wall Street Journal's claim. Elon tweeted,
It really doesn't sound like something Trump would say TBA,
casting doubt on the letter's authenticity. Nonetheless, the damage was done. The headlines blared that Trump was now accused in print of sending Epstein a lewd birthday greeting, feeding the worst suspicions about their friendship. In an effort to regain control of the narrative, Trump took an extraordinary step that evening. He announced that he had directed Attorney General Pam Bondi to seek court approval to unseal any and all grand jury testimony from Epstein's criminal case.
I have asked the Justice Department to release all grand jury testimony with respect to Jeffrey Epstein, subject only to court approval. With that being said, and even if the court gave its full and unwavering approval, nothing will be good enough for the troublemakers and radical left lunatics making the request. It will always be more, MAGA.
It was a dramatic gesture of transparency aimed at rebutting claims that Trump was hiding something. Politically, the move was meant to shore up his base. As he posted on Truth Social, he felt the whole Epstein controversy was a hoax started by the Democrats and fueled by past supporters who had bought into it. He derided those in MAGA world raising questions as weaklings doing the Democrats' work. The grand jury gambit was his way of calling the bluff. As I was finishing this script, there was a new development. Donald Trump actually filed a defamation suit against the Wall Street Journal over that alleged 2003 birthday note to Epstein. Court records show the complaint was logged in federal court this week, naming the Journal, its editor, and News Corp as defendants. If you ask me, the move cuts two ways. On one hand, it signals supreme confidence, because the last thing a guilty man usually wants is discovery, where every email, draft, and deposition can surface. On the other hand, it locks Trump into sworn statements under penalty of perjury. If any damaging correspondence exists, it could emerge and do far more political harm than a newspaper story ever could. Okay, so now that we've done the timeline, here's my opinion. Trump has been one of the most effective presidents in my lifetime, beating the odds again and again. I see no real evidence he was involved with Epstein's crimes. Also, ask yourself this. If something truly explosive about Trump were in those files, wouldn't Democrats have weaponized it in 2020 or 2024? And one more thought. Trump is a master at steering the news cycle. While everyone argues about Epstein, the cameras aren't on his mass deportation plan. Maybe that's on purpose, maybe not. We'll find out. For now, I'm willing to wait and see. I still trust Trump to land on the right side of this. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.